Hello, everybody. We're going to talk about some crafting today. This is mostly for people that have not spent any time doing crafting and are looking to pick it up. So the first thing we're going to look at is what actually what falls under the crafting category. So we have our gathering. This is something everybody should be doing, whether you're planning on being crafting or not. If you're in a guild, or whether it's a large guild or a small guild, you're going to want to hit nodes as you see them. That's what the material bag is for. That's where your materials go. Like items you get from kills and stuff, they go to your regular inventory. So they're separated. You don't have to worry about running out of room, really. The only thing that you get from kills, and there's probably a couple exceptions to this, that goes to your material bags are stuff like spider cocoons, the emblems, what else? Glint is the big one. Glint always goes to your material bag. But any sort of equipment and stuff is going to go to your main inventory. And, like, I have a lot of stuff in mine because I have a ton of mounts just to give random people and stuff. My material bags, like, they're pretty full, but it's all the tanning stuff I was doing last night, so before I would go out and go do anything, I would empty all this into my bank. The only thing I tend to carry with me is just my glint, and it's not wise to carry your glint with me. It's just my brain's like, you might need this for something. I've never needed it for anything. My brain won't let me just leave it in storage. So ideally, you want to empty out your material bag. You'll have more than enough space to pick up stuff. If you are running a long distance and you happen to see a whole bunch of notes that you can gather, is it possible to fill up your material bag? Absolutely. But you can always find stuff to throw away if you need to. Whether it's a tree or a piece of gray rock or something. Or a stack of gray rocks, I should say. I've never actually filled this up in a single outing. I've had it filled right up to here with recipes and stuff I was carrying around and still had like 2 or 3 spots left by the time I was done grinding with the group. And I have a lot of stuff in here that I just don't need to carry on me. Like, that's a quest item, that's a quest item, that's a box. I should just vendor that and those. Novice herbalism bag, that's still good to me. Lumberjacking apprentice bag is good to me. Hunting bag, I have a novice and an apprentice already. I guess I could swap out. Yeah, why am I using... Actually, you know what? See, this is what I mean. Make sure you empty your inventory and make sure everything's proper before you go do stuff. Because I'm missing out on inventory slots right now. Oops. I might end up cutting this out of the video. But we can do the apprentice hunting bag. There, now we have 2 apprentice hunting bags. This one adds 27 hunting speed, which is useless. And this one adds 10 hunting rarity. Buying 2 of these off the vendor would probably be better than making these with leatherworking. That's something I'm going to touch on later in the video. But like, I have lots of inventory space with these 2 bags. Anyway. So gathering, whether it's chopping trees, mining, herbalism, fishing, or hunting. Of these gathering skills, the ones you're going to want to use the most to help out your guild, mining. Never pass up basalt, copper, and rubies. Those are the 3 of all the different types of stuff you can get as a miner at level or tier 0. Those are all highly sought after. Zinc is also useful, just not quite as much as copper. There's a lot of stuff that requires copper early on. Lumberjacking, for those types of trees, you're just going to want to hit everything. But the ones that are most useful for people, either yourself or your guildmates, are probably Western Larch because they are worth 25 fuel currently. So you can tame an animal with 4 logs versus 10. If you use like oak or something, or even I think it's 12 if you use ash, because they're worth 8 and oak are worth 10. And you want to use the raw wood. You don't want to use the lumbered wood. I mean, if you are leveling lumber milling, it's not a huge loss between oak timber and oak wood. Oak wood is 10, oak timber is 8. So it's not a huge loss, but the raw wood is the better fuel. So those trees, western larches are tall, straight trees. Like there's no little wiggle in their trunks at all. They don't have a bunch of really gnarly, like twisted or branches and stuff. Depending on the season, the leaves do change, but they're usually orange or red because the game seems to be stuck in the fall season for the last couple of weeks. Herbalism, you really only have a couple options. Snowdrops, daffodils, and flax are, I think, the only thing you can get at tier 0. These are all needed. Daffodil mulch is used for a lot of cooking stuff. Snowdrops and daffodils are both used for the node stuff. Flax is used for any sort of linen that you want to make, whether it's strings for bows or fishing rods, or if you want to level tailoring, you're going to need that as well. Also, buildings for the node require linen thread and cotton thread. Now, a word on cotton. There is currently no cotton in the wild. You will need to go to the independent at the start of the game when they wipe the servers, assuming nothing changes in phase 2. You will need to go to the independent agriculture supplies station and buy cotton seeds. And if you are leveling leatherworking, or you want to help build buildings in the node, you are going to want to buy probably your entire Sanctus bag full of cotton seeds. Now, that being said, that's like 3.5, 4 gold. So you probably won't be able to do it right away, but buy what you can. But usually by the time, the second week rolls around and buildings are really starting to pop up on the nodes, you're going to want to buy cotton en masse and have people just help you out with droppings. Because for one dropping, you get 1 cotton. 1 cotton makes 1 cotton thread. Now, fishing is not something I've done much of. You can tell it's only level 2. That's where you get bluegill, and I think the largemouth bass is the other one that comes at level, or tier 0. Both of those are used for node production, like getting buildings up. Specifically, the food ones, like preserved food, I think uses those. Hunting, I'm really hoping they do make some changes to hunting. Because right now it's a very boring gathering skill, and it takes longer than most, it feels like. Not to level so much, because you do get good amounts of XP if you can find an area that has fast respawns. But just the feel, like the gameplay mechanics of it, you walk up, you pet an animal to death. Apparently everybody who does hunting is a serial killer. Anyway, you want to grab everything you can there. The most important ones for leatherworking are Grems, wolves, and bear. For armor smithing, you do need raven as well. I know we have an armor smither in the guild, and he does use the raven skins. I'm not sure if tailoring uses anything from animal carcasses. I haven't really spoken to our tailor about that. But basically, as it stands, tier 0, pick up every single animal you can, which is ravens, grems, bears, wolves, palace cats, horses. So the ones that are not useful to other trades are the palace cats and the horses, because they do not make carcasses. They just straight give you the wild animal to tame into a mount. So if you have an animal husbandry person in the guild, or you're doing it yourself, those are probably the ones. Horses I would skip, because they are the same as the horse that you get for doing the Sweat of Your Brow quest. 135%. So the horses you tame as a novice animal husbandry aren't really going to be an upgrade to everybody, because everybody's going to do the Sweat of Your Brow quest. However, the palace cats, Pallas, they are 140%. So they are slightly faster than the horse. They do have pretty quick spawns from what I've been told. They're like the one animal I've never actually found out in the wild. But that's all the gathering stuff. Now the processing stuff, there's a few more of those. Weaving is where you make all your threads and bolts and fibers and wraps. Bolts, fibers, and wraps are made once you hit apprentice. So early on, all you can make is cotton thread and linen thread. Cooking, I have not touched whatsoever. I'm going to gloss over that because I don't know anything about it. But that's basically where you get your food buffs. The fruit salads are made. The other salad, the physical salad, is also made there. Some of the higher end stuff, like once they get to apprentice, is stuff like cow's milk. That's more in depth. You guys will have to find another video on that. But you can have both a food buff and a drink buff going at once. So you can have cow's milk and your salad going at the same time. Animal husbandry is how you make mounts. This is where you will spend a ton of money if you plan on leveling this. We worked it out, and at base taxes, which is 10%, so it's 55 silver a tame, or a process for each mount. You're looking at somewhere around 30 to 35 gold, I believe it was, to get to level 10. Not to mention all the time, because they're a half-hour mounts, you can't do batches. You have to do one at a time. It kind of makes sense. You can't do batches because it would be ridiculously expensive. I've had over 50 bears in my inventory. If I could do a batch of 50 bears, I would be instantly broke. Now, the animal husbandry stuff is great. Everybody's going to need faster mounts. Being able to get around the map is probably the biggest slog in this game. So, the guild I'm in on our server, the mayor is our guild leader. So we've been kind of in control of getting the buildings up and going for that, and that's where we have the guild bank, which is an alt, where we just dump all of our materials. Because we didn't build the hideworks, I have to come all the way down to New Ayla, which is a full 3.5 zones away, because you have to run through all of Winstead, down through Halcyon, down through Jova, and then into New Ayla. So it's a long ride. I was lucky enough that when the other person doing animal husbandry in the guild got to 10, they gave me a crocodile. The crocodiles are currently bugged, we think, because they have like 200% movement speed on the ground and are very slow in the water. We think they flipped these speeds. But from 0 to 9, it's not hard to do. You just need a hunter or multiple hunters feeding you the tames. So you can just sit there and keep queuing up one at a time, because until the tier 2 building gets built, every 30 minutes you have to go put in a new one. Metalworking, this is where you make your fragments at 0 to 9. This is where you get the fragments for the bows, the first 2 levels of your bows. So the novice level, if you want to replace your crude weapons, you can make a novice tool. They have better durability, and then they can obviously have better rarity as well. Now, I did want to mention one thing about the apprentice level tools when you get to 10 to 19. So if we look at the hunting vendor here, oops, they have a apprentice hunting bow 2. This one has speed and rarity on it. I don't have this recipe yet. We'll go ahead and buy it. We learn that. Oh, I always think it's that table. It's this one over here. So now we see we have 2 apprentice bows. They are named exactly the same thing. So please, for the sake of your own sanity, if you do plan on building one of these other like vendor bought recipes for your apprentice, watch this stuff and make sure that you're using the right materials. So the hunting XP bow that you get at level 10, the apprentice hunting bow you get at level 10 is hunting XP and rarity. But rarity's on the bottom, so it's the lower of the 2 stats. And this is the same with all the tools. But this stuff is all stuff that is like one process away from being able to be turned into the bow. So flax into linen thread, that's directly, there's nothing you have to do between that level. Now if you aren't doing herbalism and you have to grow the flax, there is one additional stage, but that's very easy. Western larch timber, you just gotta go find the trees, chop them down, process them one time. 20 of them one time. Copper fragments, you gotta find a copper node, mine it, process one of the metals you get out of it into one fragment. It's a 1-to-1 for everything here. That's nice and easy. Now, for any of the secondary types that you buy the recipe off the vendor for, these are much more complicated. Eastern hemlock planks is something that you're going to need an apprentice lumber miller to make. Moon thread, you're going to require an apprentice weaver to make. And bronze ingots, you're going to need an apprentice metal worker to make. But these are the better bows. So when stuff changes, and I'm hoping they do make the change that I don't know why they would make this change, but it's nothing they've said they're going to do. So this is just me speculating at this point. But as it stands right now, a tier 0 node, so that's basalt, granite, copper, zinc, rubies, those are all tier 0. Those 5 things can also share spawns with tin, emeralds, halcyon, or it's the blue crystal that starts with an H. I don't remember the name of it. And yeah, slate. So those all share spawns. So if you're out and about, you're hitting all these tier 0 nodes. You clear off an area of a bunch of tier 0 nodes. They can respawn as tier 1, or they can respawn as tier 2. And when the other tiers are in the game, because they just aren't in the game at the moment, I'm sure they can spawn as those as well. So you can, because we're limited right now in this test phase, we are limited if stuff that is too high of a level spawns. Like, we can definitely go up to level 30 or 40 or 50 mining, for example, but we can't make the tools because we don't have enough time for all the, the heck is that? So, the recipe that you buy off the vendor when you hit apprentice level is better. For most professions, not all, but most professions, because they have higher rarity, or the rarity will be the same. But the XP rating is only good if you're looking to speed through things. Personally, as a hunter, I would take the XP rating over the speed, because the speed is, like I said earlier, with hunting, not worthwhile. But for stuff like the sickle, you're gonna want as much rarity and stuff as you can get, and some of them have the rarity value on the top. So that's your metalworking stuff. Lumber milling stuff is from 0 to 9 anyway, is just turning wood into timber. If you're leveling that, turn all the wood you get into timber. If you're not planning on making it one of your main focuses, just turn what you need to into it. Hopefully somebody in your guild will focus it, and you can rely on them to make the stuff that you don't have access to until you get caught up. But as anybody who has played this game knows, you cannot master everything. You only have access to 2 grandmasters, which means 2 of your skills, whether it's gathering, processing, or crafting, only 2 of those skills can go to 50. And I believe it's 4 of them can go to master, and 5 of them can go to expert. You'll be able to have all crafts at a certain level, but not everything will be able to be maxed. Alchemy I haven't touched on. The only reason I have any XP is helping the scribe make crushed ruby powder. I'm going to kind of gloss over that one because I don't know anything about it. But basically, rubies are your go-to for that. They will take the rubies, make red ink out of them, and then that red ink is used for making scribing scrolls, which are XP scrolls, whether they're for combat XP, processing XP, gathering XP, or crafting XP. Those seem to be the main use of them currently anyway. They also have enchanting scrolls that you can use to upgrade your gear. Enchanting is risky in this game. If you fail an enchantment, it destroys the item. So maybe when more stuff, or when gear comes a little bit easier because we have access to the whole world, it won't be as dangerous. But there's also ways to boost the percentage. So it starts off at 90% with the vendor bot scrolls. I think the scribe made scrolls, I think they start at 100%. But as you enchant stuff, the base stats go up, but the percentage goes down. And I believe that's what those river runes are going to be used for. I believe those are used to boost up the percentage, but I haven't done any enchanting myself, so I don't want to say that for certain. Tanning, which is something that I just hit 10 on last night, is turning carcasses into hides. And that is pretty straightforward. The bones and the animal fat aren't anything you're going to use as a leather worker, but the bones will be used for jewelry, I believe. Animal fat is used in armor smithing for like quenching the stuff, I guess. It's probably used in weaponsmithing as well. But as a leather worker, your main thing you're going to be looking for is the hides, whether it's Graham Raven, Wolf Bear. Those are the ones you have access to as a 0 to 9. Next up, we have stone masonry. The main use of this is sand if you're a jewel crafter. So turning salt or granite into sand. I'm not sure which of the two you use as a jewel crafter, but it's one of the two. Which is a 1-for-1 conversion. You get 1 sand per 1 stone. The other, probably more common one, will be the weapon molds. Because the weapon molds are used to make your tools. Tools can't be traded. You have to create the tool yourself. So everybody's going to have a few levels in this. At least in the 0 to 9 level. Farming is super important if you want to be either a cook or you want to be a weaver. Because the weaving comes from the cotton and flax that you can grow. And the quality of those two items is directly correlated to the quality of the poop you use, or the droppings. It is a good way if you have people doing a lot of animal killing to get like 20 or 30 or 50 of a certain quality flax or cotton. Because you can just take, say, 50 purple poops and turn them into 50 purple cotton threads if you wanted to. It is a great way to guarantee a certain quality. For cooking, you're going to be making mulch and stuff to grow like blackberries and whatnot, and then those blackberries are then used in other recipes to put together actual foods. I have not touched cooking, as you can see, so skip over that. So these all take 1 minute per craft. And you can do bundles of 1, 5, 10, 25, 50, and then that, most people thought that was it. I didn't find out until my second week playing that if you mouse over the number and then scroll down on the wheel, you can get access to a 100 stack and a 250 stack. And I have made a couple of those. The 100 stack is 2 hours and 40 minutes, and the 250 stack is double that, or more than double that, 1.5 times that long. So it's like 5 hours, or close to 5 hours. If you are somebody who doesn't plan on maining a whole bunch of crafting skills, gather materials until you have enough to do a 250 batch. Now, if you need the materials quicker, obviously do smaller batches. But if you're just making them to process them, do 250 batches so you can just set them and forget them. The only reason not to do that is if you need bank space and you're just trying to clear out some space in your bank. Process the stuff, give it to whoever needs it. Now, currently there's nothing under other, but it looks like we might have some other types of crafting skills in the future as well. And then we're going to talk about the crafting skills themselves, putting everything together. Now this is the fastest crafting skill in the game, technically. It takes, because all the time for this stuff is where the processing time comes in. So for example, um, let's say I have a Growler's severed head. I have a couple of these in my bank. Let's say I've got 6 of these tanned and 3 of these ready to go. I hit add, I add them here, I add them here, and whatever quality those 2 items are will be the quality of the item. Like if I do white for both of these and blue for the head's always blue, by the way, it'll come out as a green. There is an average of the rarities. But if this is blue and I use blue tanned wolf hide and blue bluebell thread, or rare if you want to call it by its actual name, it'll come out as a blue helmet. You can't see what they are until you put the pieces in. But as you can see, even though I use blue, if I used a white cotton thread, it's going to come out as a white item. It's a waste of materials. So make sure that you're using all of the same materials, or if you want a blue, use majority blue and then use like a heroic, and you might get a chance at a heroic. But you don't want to have a very wide range of rarities when you're making stuff. You want basically everything to be the same, and that's the same for all crafts. It doesn't matter what craft it is. Some do allow a little bit more mix and match than others, because armor smithing has, I think, at least 4 components for every piece. Leatherworking doesn't really have all that much. As you can see, most of them are 2. Anyway, so arcane engineering, jewelry, leatherworking, weaponsmithing, all this stuff. These are all the crafting, which is just, it takes 2 seconds to build something. You add the 2 pieces, you hit the button, the item's created. So the actual crafting is quick. It's the processing of all the materials. So if you have a couple people that are going to be feeding you materials, whether it's because you own a freehold with them, or you are in a guild, whatever, you're going to need multiple. I would say at least 2 for every type of processing. And you may need more depending on people's play times. I'm lucky I get to play as much as I want. So I have a lot of processing stuff that is just not useful to me, but it helps out the guild. Like, I wasn't going to take weaving at all. I think I'm the highest weaver in the guild currently, or close to it. Tanning, I'm the 2nd tanner in the guild. He was 16 last time I saw. I'm currently 10. I just got it last night. Farming, I'm almost level 9, and that's strictly for making cotton thread or putting up buildings. When it comes to all this stuff, I've barely made any. I leveled this off of just grem hide and cotton thread. I just made bracers over and over again. I think I filled my inventory 3 or 4 times to get level 10. It wasn't that bad. It was a little bit pricey, but it wasn't too bad. I hear armor smithing is much worse, as is tailoring, just because of the sheer amount of herbalism that you need for the tailoring and the sheer amount of copper and stuff you need for the armor smithing. But just be aware that crafting people don't need to sit in town all day just doing stuff. So basically what I'm saying in this video is everything is super interconnected. Work with your fellow crafters to get bags made, whether they're through tailoring, leatherworking, or carpentry. There are 3 different types of bags for all professions. They're called baskets for carpentry. I believe they are called pouches. Oops. Yeah, I believe they're called pouches for tailoring and bags for leatherworking. These bags, some of these are okay. Again, I've said a couple times already that speed for hunting is not really a stat you want, so I wouldn't make leatherworking bags for a hunter. There's better things to spend the materials on. There's a lot of really broken leatherworking bags right now. 3 fishing speed. The vendor bought one is better than that. Now the mining one, this one's not bad. Quantity is good. but you want to mix it with a rarity one, which is the carpentry bag has rarity on it. Herbalism, again, another one that's the stats just don't make sense on it. I would not make that one. Lumberjacking speed, again, not necessary. Really, when it comes to the apprentice bags, the only one I would make through leatherworking is the mining one. None of the other ones are worth crafting. Now, that being said, the carpentry baskets are much better. A lot of those ones have rarity on them. The herbalism ones have rarity, I believe. The lumberjacking baskets are great. They definitely have rarity on them. And the other thing that can be made by both tailors and leather workers are the skivvies. Well, rather, skivvies for the leather worker, which are the pants for the apprentice. You can buy these off the vendor, and they do come at this quality. I'm not sure if the stats are the same. Let me double check. We've got apprentice leatherworking skivvies, 61 quality, 5 accuracy, which is weird, and 17 leatherworking XP. So let's find Tanner skivvies. These are tanning time reduction, max health, and rarity. So those would be worth making for me. But they don't all have that. So double check the vendor bought ones versus the leatherworking crafted ones for the pants. Tailors make the shirts. So once you have an apprentice tailor, check with them to see if you can get a higher rarity, or even like a white might even be good for you. Like I said, these white pants are better than the vendor bought ones. And I'll have to check with the tailor when I'm online later, or on voice later, to see if the shirt's any better than the vendor bought one. But whichever crafting whether you decide to pick up, whether it's gathering, processing, or actual crafting, check with your fellow crafters to see if there's anything that will help you be better at it. And that's what this whole video is about, is showing how you can be better at it without wasting your time. There are a lot of things you can do in this game for crafting that is not ideal. Like, wood is always good to chop, but there are some woods that are better to chop than other. Weeping willows are apprentice level. You're always going to want to chop those when you see them, because everything uses them. The best carriages or caravans use them. All the tanning uses them. All the carpentry uses them. All the friggin' weaving uses it if you're making bolts. So willows are highly sought after, and I hope they kind of change that some. I don't understand why it's the only tier 2 tree, or tier 1 tree rather. But that's just the way it is, so it's used for everything. So the whole point of this video is try to make sure that you are putting your time to good use. And to that effect, I'm going to end there because I've already been rambling for almost 40 minutes. So I do appreciate all of you guys sticking through the video, whether you're speeding through it or not. Come check me out. I'm live on Twitch, Sean the Weirdo. I'm over on Kick as well if you want to avoid commercials or you just don't like Amazon for some reason. So you can check me out over there, same username. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next week for another informational video. Bye, everybody.